February 25th, 2025 to order, and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Streeter, how about you?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Hi, Shane. All right, can we get roll call?
All right. Captain Chevalier is not present. Chief Malat.
Here.
Chief Mall.
Here.
Chair Bercuda. He informed staff that he would
He's
not be here
absent.
today. Vice Chair Greenwald.
Here.
Committee Member Roden.
Here.
And Committee Member Hazelton.
Here.
Great. All right, we have some guests today from Team Rubicon. Kevin Coppo is the state administrator for Team Rubicon's Southern California geographical area, covering San Luis Obispo, Kern counties, and south. Kevin has been with Team Rubicon since 2017 and has recently deployed his 60th national and international disaster response, responding to the LA fires. Outside Team Rubicon, Kevin is a retired U.S. Army veteran with 2 combat deployments to the Middle East, and has background in public instruction and finance, and while born and raised in Riverside, he currently calls Laguna Niguel home, where he's lived since 2007. Kevin, welcome. Good to see you here.
Thanks, sir. Thank you for inviting us to present today. I know we're not a very household name. Everybody thinks of Red Cross for disaster response. We like to consider ourselves the dirty side of the Red Cross in disaster response. A little background in Team Rubicon. We were formed back in 2010. A bunch of veterans were sitting around. They saw the earthquake happen in Haiti. Everybody sits on the TV and sees these things happen and wish that they could help. These guys actually got off the couch, jumped on an airplane, and along the way they connected with each other. They didn't know each other, but they all had the like-minded desire to help people in Haiti. They ended up running the Port-au-Prince Hospital, the emergency room, for 3 weeks. It was a Navy surgeon, a couple Special Forces medics, and then our founder, Jake Wood. Right now we've got 127 full-time employees. We operate out of our headquarters in Los Angeles. We have about 1,600 national volunteer leaders. So we are a volunteer-run organization similar to the Red Cross, and we are a 501c3 company. Our mission statement is we're a volunteer-led or veteran-led humanitarian organization responding to before, during, and after disasters. We are very proud of our 4-star rating with Charity Navigator. So we do 80% of our donations go directly to operations, 11% to administrative, and the remaining to fundraising. So basically, one of our big tenets is mom's a donor. We make sure we spend our money where it's desired to go to within the community. We just actually reorganized a little bit, so we are now a 2-branch system. So we've got the West Branch and the East Branch. West Branch pretty much focuses on earthquakes and wildfires, and the the East Branch focuses on hurricanes and tornadoes. Everybody's got different types of needs, but those are the 2 big ones that we train for. We do have a national operations center in Dallas, Texas. Like I said, our headquarters is in LA, so that's all the admin side. Our operational response is out of Texas, and then we've got another operational center out of Chicago. Basically, with Team Rubicon, we are offering to emergency managers and community organizations a trained force to deploy. We do focus mostly on debris removal within the organizations or within communities. Focus heavily on chainsaw operations. We do a 212, an S212 type of chainsaw training, which is mirrors the forestry department. We do heavy equipment operations, CTLs, excavators for demolition and debris move. We do something specific that we call route clearance, which I'll get into a little bit later. Locally, very similar to the COVID, the vaccinations and the testing sites, we do points of distribution or points of dispensing. So we help back up the local CERT teams, or if you don't have a CERT team, we'll actually come in and run those functions for you. And then we do volunteer management. After every disaster, everybody wants to help. Trying to organize and manage those people is usually very difficult for the emergency managers, so we step into that role for y'all. We do advanced capabilities. This is more of our national side. We do have a Type 3 incident management team. California pretty much has EOCs and designated personnel trained up in those areas. The rest of the U.S. does not. Usually the librarian is the ops person, and the public works guy may be the planning section chief or something like that. But we do have teams that we deploy to help reintegrate, and they are qualified teams. We do have heavy ICS incident command system trained people. So all of our leaders have at least up to ICS 400. We try and have at least a good portion of our folks up to the G191 so they can get into the EOCs and support in the event that you need help in those areas as well. Mitigation is a big thing. If we're not responding to disasters, we're practicing for disasters, and we do that through mitigation. So just like the reserves, military reserves, you go out and you drill. A lot of our chainsaw events are fire mitigation events. I was actually out in Silverado Canyon this morning walking several sites that we're going to be doing work with OCFA out there. We do defensible space. It's called home ignition zone. So we'll do those 5, 30s, and 100 walks with homes. We try and focus on people that can't do the work themselves. We don't typically like to show up to somebody with a Range Rover in the driveway and do their yard work for them. But we do focus on those people, work with OCFA where they may cite somebody and they know they don't have the means to get there, so we'll go do that work for them. And one of our recent ones that we started about 2 years ago is burn scar management, which is basically sandbagging or flood mitigation. So I'll get to some other examples here in a bit, but after fires, we always have those debris flows coming off and causing even more havoc than what was originally happened. We do deploy trained people. We just don't do, hey, you come on down and jump in. So we have a myriad of classes that we do. A lot of those you should recognize from some of the FEMA courses. But we do make sure we offer at least monthly training locally to the volunteers. That's a snapshot of what we've done nationally. Those are operations, those numbers. So we did 13 flood ops last year. An operation is basically we'll actually go set up shop. We'll live there, work there until the work is done. We did 31 hurricanes last year, different what we call forward operating bases. Which was between Milton and Helene, where we had our hands full last year. We actually still have 3 of our operating bases open in Georgia and North Carolina because of the extensive damage. We did 37 severe weather events. This was our first year that we did 0 tornadoes. The local teams took care of a lot of tornadoes, but there were luckily no major tornadoes this year that we had to respond to nationally, and then we did 26 wildfires. This is us in SoCal. This is my collection that I manage. I live in Orange County, but I run the Southern California function. I'm filling in for Art Hasagawa, who runs Orange County. But we've got 4,000 deployable and active people. I know every volunteer organization says I've got 1 million people. Our real number in SoCal is 12,000, but they're not active. At one point in time, they did something, but right now we've got about 4,000 that actually do something. Fun fact, we had 500 people join up in the 2 weeks during the LA fires that signed up and actually became deployable with our organization. We are veteran-led, and we do we draw off of military structure a lot, but that's mostly because we go over ICS. So we follow ICS, but ICS follows military structure very closely, so it's a perfect fit for veterans. The other 20% are first responders. I'm going to look at that guys in uniforms here. We actually have a lot of these first responders that are members of our organization because they work 312s, 410s, and they do have time. And it's also a good way to travel to the rest of the United States and practice disaster response on somebody else's dirt instead of your own backyard. And we're basically broken down into 6 county teams. We focus on low income, elderly, and once we get outside of those demographics, we start looking at key terrain and isolated communities. So like I said, we are in Silverado today. We are looking at that area because if one house goes up, they're all going to go up. So we kind of look as like, okay, yeah, they may have some, a nice bank account, but we're still going to help them because, their lack of focus is going to cause everybody else a lot of issues. Operating picture, that's how we're task organized. So what do we do? This is the LA fire. This is, obviously something major that just recently happened. Our typical response is cleanup. In this case, we were actually tasked and we received a request for assistance from LA County Fire, LA County Sheriff, LA City Fire, and LA City Police. So initially we did checkpoint operations with them. We weren't there stopping traffic or anything like that. We were actually the front facing the kind face, if you can notice the kind face, of answering people's questions. So you evac 12,000 people, or over 12,000 people, they have questions, and law enforcement and the guard did not have time to be answering those questions. So we ended up stationing 2 to 4 people at each checkpoint. Every day for about 2 weeks, we had about 150 people deployed on those sites. We also did re-entry, and we worked with the fire departments there, where we did PPE distribution. We went up with the families. We helped them put on their PPE. We helped them take off their PPE so they could get back into the vehicles clean. And LA Fire or County Fire were there as protective measures, but we actually did the reintegration once they lifted up the evac orders. We also did points of distribution and a couple other points there. A lot of sandbagging went on in LA over the last few weeks, either filling, handing out, or placement. Airport fire on this side of the map, or the Riverside side of the map, we worked with Riverside heavily on evacs, so we did shelter setup. Red Cross is great at running them. They may not be able to get there quick to set up the shelters, so we send out teams, we'll do their shelter setup for them, and then once their people get on site, we decline operation of shelters because you get a bunch of mean, grumpy veterans like myself, you're probably not set up to run shelters. We did do large animal evac centers as well, so we helped the county shelter people set up the corrals and such, get them up and running, and then we did EOC support. That's Holy Gym. Before the recent rains, we did the surviving cabins in Holy Gym. We actually sandbagged those structures, and we were told not one of them were lost. A lot of damage, roads were washed out, but everything we set up actually worked. So the diversion walls, the temporary levees, the protective measures, everything seemed to work. So we're super proud of that. Holy Gym cleanup. If you've been watching the news, you understand like Army Corps of Engineers comes in and says, okay, if you sign with us, it's all or none. And then some people don't like that, so they'll opt out of that program. You had one guy opt out of the program in Holy Gym. So the state is in there right now cleaning up that fire. This gentleman opted out, so we actually helped him clean up his residence. And it only took a day, but so he's ready to go. 29 Palms, we had big floods this past July. We jumped out there. We do a lot of isolated communities. Not a lot going on out in 29 Palms, so we sent a crew out there for 5 days, and they picked up a lot of floodwaters. I'm going to go to the next one. Actually, that one, San Diego County. You guys probably saw that back in January of last year, anywhere between 5 and 7 feet of water going through areas that they never thought would flood. When that happens, basically going through pulling up flooring, getting rid of carpet, furniture, and then we take the drywall up and get everything out so the homes aren't suffering mold issues later on. We are offering community workshops now on sandbagging. We realize there's not enough of us to go around. And the joke is, I'm the sandbag guy around here, and once you come to one of my sandbag events, you don't normally come back because it's probably the best thing since CrossFit. But we started training local members, or actually local communities. So we'll take this to HOAs. I'm actually teaching Public Works Moreno Valley tomorrow sandbagging techniques. And I know every one of you are all thinking, what idiot doesn't know how to fill a sandbag? There's actually a lot of engineering that goes into how you place them, where they go, a little bit of the hydrology behind it, and just teamwork. That one picture you'll see, that's actually Riverside County flood that we taught them back in December, and that's on the Santa Ana levee. So we were doing a sandbag chain line to show them how to move bags and place them, because you can't drive heavy equipment up on there. So. Cathedral City, that was another mess. That was 4 feet of mud. You probably saw that on the news, but we all kind of joked about Hurricane Hillary. Nothing happened here, but Palm Springs and Cathedral City got wiped out. They had 4 feet of muck in some neighborhoods, so we went out there and knocked out a bunch of cleanup there. Recurring theme in Silverado, that was from the bonfire. We cleaned up 3 sites there. If you don't meet that 20 home minimum, the state kind of says, okay, county, it's on you guys to clean up. So in this case, we went out and the ones that opted in, we helped them do that work. Snowmageddon, a year ago, we went up and did 3 different operations up there. We did health and welfare checks. We're not a SAR team, but we did work with CAL FIRE and California or San Bernardino County Fire, where we did health and welfare checks. So we had sleds, we dragged food and such to various homes that were elderly that couldn't get out, and we dug them out. So while we were there, we basically gave them a clean pathway up to their doorway, dug out their vehicle. They couldn't move it because all the roads were closed, but when they were ready, they would be able to get out. We chase fire departments sometimes. This was in the Antelope Fire. When you've got a fast-moving wildfire and the crews are strung out all over the place, they leave equipment behind. We were tasked to actually go into the recovery, the hose rolling, and then get those cleaned and replaced and put them back in the line, so the fire crews didn't have to expend assets chasing equipment. Route clearance, this is the non-sexy one. This was up in Upland. That was a wind event that happened. San Bernardino County actually contracts with Upland. Not typical our target audience, based off of the income there, but San Bernardino came back with us and we told them, it was like, I'm not sure if our donors want us cleaning up in Upland. They came back and said, well, we can't send the volunteers out to the rest of the county that are poor. We'll send our crews there. Can you do this stuff? And we're like, okay, we get it. That makes sense. So we ended up deploying to Upland and doing that. Bigger issue, I know I typically am covering everything SoCal. That's a bigger example of route clearance. This was the Atmospheric River back in January 2023. We were horrified to learn that the city of Sacramento owns 5 chainsaws in their public works department, and they had 2,000 trees down. So we were able to be out there for about 3 weeks and cut up a ton of trees. Back in 2021, when the border crisis first started, the unaccompanied minor children, FEMA called us and said, hey, Red Cross is busy. We need 20 people here to set up cots. We've got 2,500 females between 14 and 16 coming in. So we were able to get down there and help them out, got them operational within 4 hours of the request. Again, we're veteran. This is an interesting company called Pallet Shelter. We have been working with the VA, setting up tiny homes for them, for homeless vets. That's been an awesome project. Keeps us in touch with our veteran roots. LA Fire, this is the last one, I promise. LA Fire, fireworks explosion back in, right before July 4th, a few years ago, when the demo truck blew up and took out the neighborhood. We helped clean up that mess, but the biggest thing that we did, I guess that happened at 7 o'clock at night. Everybody was eating dinner. Food was still on the tables, but it was a crime scene, so everything was shut down for 3 weeks, no power, no nothing. Our hurricane experience tells us your refrigerator after 3 weeks being closed up with no power is not a fun thing to try and move or clean, so that was a big part of that, was going through the neighborhood and pulling refrigerators. Fire mitigation, we talked about that a little bit. We do huge projects, both HE and just chainsaw work. It's kind of a quick snapshot of what we've done in the last few years here locally. And a little bit of COVID, ran a lot of testing sites. We did send a team to the Trona earthquake. That was mostly window boarding and chimney clearing. So a lot of the chimneys out there, these are all 1950s homes, all the chimneys came over. But the big thing is air conditioning doesn't work. It's 116 degrees outside, the air conditioning doesn't work when you don't have any windows. So we ended up doing a lot of window boarding for the retirement population out there. So what we're promising to our community partners is, if you need us, give us a call. Typically, we can get 10 people there in 12 hours. We can get 20 some in a day. And after that, it's all just how much lead time we have. Our members get a text message. They are all background checked. They've undergone a certain amount of training. They get a text that says, hey, can you go here? If you respond to the text, it'll ask you what dates can you go, and if you don't respond to the text, we'll get you the next time. That's our background on training. We do require the 100 and 700 and the background check. We pay for everything for our volunteers. They are responsible for basically work boots, pants, sleeping equipment, things like that. If we do deploy our volunteers to the East Coast or someplace else and we're flying them, we ask they spend a week. If they are within driving distance, which is 400 miles, they can stay for as long as they like. And benefits, we're all volunteers. You get hugs at the end. That's about the best you get. And that is it. I'm the second guy on there. Again, I'm the state admin. I cover San Luis Obispo, Kern County South. And Richard Wheeler here is our logistics member from the Orange County team. So he's here making sure I don't throw them under the bus or anything. So, but again, Art Hasagawa is your main point of contact, and he typically, I think he met Nick at the OSEMA meetings that Art attends every month or every other month. But would you have any questions?
Very impressive. One of the things that just amazed me is Seattle, 5 or 6 chainsaws. And I've got all those Sacramento, I mean. That's amazing. So you guys be helping out. That's so cool. Any questions? Tom?
Like Mike said, that's a pretty comprehensive presentation, which would kind of explain most everything that I had questions for. You would coordinate through our fire or our police,
I'm
correct?
not sure how you guys are structured, who the emergency manager is or quasi-emergency manager, but
Adam Dewey.
That's an interesting question.
That is, we are currently working on that right now. Richard will see Rachel and I at the annual meetings.
Pay no attention to the person slouching in her chair.
We are working on getting that program where it needs to be.
So we're used to being Hey You. You all know VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster. The county, if you all know Kevin MacArthur at Orange County Emergency Management, he does, or OES, he is our lead into the VOAD. The VOAD organization is Salvation Army, Red Cross, Team Rubicon, XYZ Church, all these volunteer organizations. So we work under the logistics section of the EOC. So if there is an unmet need, they will go to the logistics and say, hey, can the VOAD help? And then they'll send it out to, okay, Team Rubicon does debris, Team Rubicon does points of distribution. We'll provide resources through that. If the county, what we're finding with the county system is if something only happens, let's say Cathedral City, they fall under Riverside County. We have a great relationship with Riverside County, but if Cathedral City doesn't know what's out there and they don't have those conversations with the county, we're not there. Luckily, one of our members lived in that area and went up to the city manager and said, hey, have you considered using these guys? And we were in there in 2 days. So having this opportunity to meet with you all and let you know what assets are out there is valuable to us, because I think we can get boots on the ground faster if you know what's out there.
Valuable to you, it's a lot more valuable to us. Please.
Liability, you guys have your own liability, or does that fall on the agencies that are asking you to help? Or?
Good question. So disaster service worker questions always come up. So to be a member of our organization, you have to be insured. So you have your own health insurance, and then our organization is covered by $2 million liability insurance. So per incident. We also, and here's kind of a bridge that we do that we specialize. So not only like the Sacramento thing, we're on city lands doing city work. We typically work on private land. So like what we work with Riverside County, actually with Orange County Flood or Orange County Public Works, when we were out there, they were like, hey, homeowner, I think you should put in sandbags right here. We can't step on your property, but these guys can. And then we have a right of entry that says, hey, we're volunteers, we're not contractors, don't sue us. And they sign the paper, and then we can cross over. Orange County Public Works actually brought all the sandbags, they brought all the sand, we did the work. Their engineers said, hey, I would do it like this, what would you guys do? And so it's a really good partnership. We have a partnership very similar to Riverside and Ventura of doing the same thing. Getting there with LA, but they're a bigger beast.
That's good, Mark.
A bulk of the funding, where does it come from?
We are a 501c3, so we are 100% donor-based. We don't charge. We say at no cost to our clients, so it's either county clients, city clients, or a residential home or whatever. Our biggest donors are Carhartt, Ford, Bank of America, Home Depot, Under Armour. We have some really big corporate donors. Our budget runs, if you look up on Charity Navigator, our budget's about $40 million a year, and the 80% goes to operational costs. So one thing that we do offer is we do our own IEPs, and we do turn in a evaluation package at the end. So if you do have a declared disaster, and let's say in LA right now, it's going to be a FEMA disaster, they're going to get 70-75% of their cost back from FEMA on this. At the end of our time in LA, we send them 211s and a roll-up package of our 218 of all of our equipment that we use, all of our man hours, and the skill sets that were out there. So we just gave you $250,000 worth of cost for free that you can add to your side, and you're gonna get 75% back from what FEMA's gonna pay you on that. So you're actually earning money by using volunteer organizations as long as you get that valuation package at the end.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, I would really appreciate it if you'd give Adam, Rod, Sergeant Streeter, and Shane your information, because if we don't have an emergency operations, okay, everybody in this room will know how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, I'll leave some cards for you.
That's great. Yeah, you guys do God's work. I was knocked out. Thank you very much.
What's awesome about our organization is you can find a little backstory on me is I retired out of the Army in December of 07, and I did this, I worked banking for a bit, and I was like, I think we got to the election in 2016, I was like, what the hell happened to our country? Everybody's fighting, and I don't care about anybody's politics, but it's like you couldn't have a conversation directly with anybody, without being confrontational. And I finally ended up doing this thing in 2017 with Team Rubicon. I went to Hurricane Harvey in Houston, and I was on a plane 2 days after it happened. We went to some place out in the middle of nowhere, no power, no phones, no internet, and for 10 days I'm sitting there with people I've never met before in my life, helping people I've never met before in my life. And I was like, wow, this experiment really works. If you turn off the TV and you stop listening to people telling you who to hate, we all get along, and it's still an awesome country and awesome community. So my thing that I love about Team Rubicon is I get to work with people like him that they give a crap. You guys all do this for free, so I know you guys give a crap too. So, but you guys get paid. Anyway,
We're highly paid.
but thank you for your time. Any other questions or?
Tom,
Oh,
What is Rubicon? How did you pick that name?
was this a test?
No,
No?
I'm curious.
Okay, so if you guys see on our emblem right here, that's actually the medical cross turned sideways. Again, our military background, and the little line up the middle is a river, and it's the Rubicon. So if you know anything about history, when Caesar went into Rome and he crossed the Rubicon, you can't go back. When we were founded, our founders in Haiti had to go into Dominican Republic, and they crossed the bridge going into Haiti, which happens to be a river. And they're like, oh, we're kind of crossing our own Rubicon. So they needed to fundraise because they needed to eat, and so they called themselves Team Rubicon. So it stuck, and it's been durable. So great question.
Great.
I thought you were here a plant by my boss asking me if I knew the history.
I'm a retired gentle leisure.
it's amazing what two guys can do and paying it forward. So thank you very much. And you guys have a website to make donations?
We do. It's teamrubiconusa.org.
I'll be on it tonight. Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 28th meeting?
I make such a motion.
Okay. Mark moves.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. All righty. Do we have any oral and written communications?
Nope.
Okay, seeing none. OCSD performance measures. Sarge, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How about yourself?
Great.
All right. Everybody hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
So, in regards to our performance measures for the first quarter of 24-25, total cost of service, we had 6,894, of which 2,111 were observed, and then there were 4,783 that were actually dispatched. The group A crime counts current quarter for were 652, and that's actually down by 0.09% from last year. And then group B is going to be 239, which is also down 0.09 from last year as well. Total arrests We had 185 arrests, of which 81 were felonies, 82 misdemeanors, and then 22 were warrants. Our P1 response times were just below the 5-minute mark at 4 minutes and 56 seconds. And then the total accidents that we had were 82, of which 34 were injury, 48 non-injury, and we didn't have any fatality accidents this quarter. The citations, we had just over 1,700 parking citations, which was a big part of the RSVP. Guys and gals going down to the beach parking lots and the 2-hour parking lots and stuff of that nature. We had 785 moving violations, 62 criminal cites, and then 24 equipment citations. The big part, that as far as the community involvement, that's what we're all about. Total for the RSVPs in the Packed House, which they just got the new Packed House dedicated this past weekend. They did 161 hours down there, down at the San Clemente Pier. As far as special community events and other things that the San Clemente Police Services participated in was 24. So 24 in 3 months is quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, and then we had CPS Ryan Case went out and did 4 home security assessments. And that also includes the communities, not just the homes, the community themselves. And then he also participated and held 2 neighborhood watch meetings.
I've got more on that too, because did some more, so.
Absolutely, yeah. But those are just the basic stats, and if there's any other questions you guys have, obviously Captain Smythe couldn't be here, so I'm doing the fill-in.
I thought you were promoted. We'll just do that here. Can you tell us about the shooting and the freeway chase the other night?
Yes, so basically I got woken up. It was quite awesome. Got woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Basically, we have one of our crime areas, obviously the Command Canasta area. That's where a lot of the incidents happen. We had some individuals come down. There were, I can't release specific details, but it was a group from Lagoon Hills that came down here that they have beef with some of the San Clemente members. And there was a shooting. Nobody was hurt, nobody was killed. But basically some cars and some buildings took some rounds from some handguns. One of my proactive deputies was actually in the area, and he was monitoring our flock camera system that we have within the city. And he observed a vehicle leaving that area before the call even came out. And he said, hey, that doesn't seem right. So he followed the vehicle, and then as he was following the vehicle, that's when the shots heard call came out. So as deputies were going en route, he was following the vehicle, and then when he confirmed that there was a shooting, he continued on the vehicle. Once we had additional units behind him, he tried to initiate a stop. They kept going down the freeway until they got off on J. Sarah in the 5 freeway, at which time 2 of the occupants fled from the vehicle, which were apprehended later on within the vehicle. And after a safety/security sweep was conducted, we discovered 2 ghost guns and then several rounds of ammunition and spent casings.
Cool.
They were all arrested. 3 of them were taken to juvenile hall, and the other one was an adult, and he was taken to the Orange County Jail.
Sharp deputy on the.
Absolutely, and he got the accolades from the captain as well as myself.
Really?
So very in tune. He was actually camped out right there off of Los Mars, and like I said, it was just. I like to say this is all skill, but there's some luck involved. And like I said, he's been here for a few years, so he knows the area very well, and something got his spike senses up.
Gets the job done. That's
Absolutely,
great.
sir.
Oh,
And
well,
the perpetrators, they were all citizens, was no?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
And then you answered part of my question about juveniles. You said 3 of the 4 were juveniles.
That's correct, sir.
How old was the adult?
I did not look at how old the adult
And
was.
like teenager, like not like
He
not like his age, right?
No, sir.
thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.
Is there a paramedic that can pull the knife out of my back?
It was more of a penknife. I'll get it.
Thanks so much. So is there anything we can do for you, sir?
No, everything is going good. I spoke with the city in regards to our Sallyport gate. The only thing that was asked to me, which was to be asked to the city council, was right now when we have to do the McNeely warrants as far as the forced blood draws, one of the parameters of that is outside of public view. With the gate, the security gate that has been installed for us, obviously you can see right through it. So the security mesh was asked to be placed throughout the gate, just on the backside of the building of the industrial area, just behind us. I think it'd be to the east of our building, just because at night the floodlights that they have that shine into our substation and that secure parking lot, technically it's not considered outside of public view because anybody can see it. So the deputies were asking like, hey, is there any way we can get some security screen or some mesh up on that little area? And that was the only.
You know anything about that?
Sounds like a public works project to me.
Has it been requested?
No, that was just literally like a day or two ago that was asked, just because we're going through with the whole forced blood draw stuff, some issues that are coming up, where our department is rebriefing as far as the parameters set forth with the expectations of that McNeely and getting that forced blood draw, because it can't be done within a correctional facility or inside public view. So, and I know we have an agreement with the city of San Clemente that we don't bring any arrestees into this building. So we're kind of limited on where we can actually extract that blood.
Let us know if we can help.
Absolutely.
Get that done. Maybe we can try to get it done before our next meeting. Great.
I have a follow-up question to that. What percentage, if it's all, what percentage of DUIs do you guys physically book?
I don't have the actual
Or roughly? Do you think it's
book or
take
like,
to jail, as opposed to release of the citation?
most of the times, the only times we really release by citation is when they have to go to the hospital, and then it's called an 849B where we release with care and custody of the hospital. If they're involved in a traffic collision where there's possibly head trauma or anything of that nature, we release them at the hospital for care and custody. But in most instances, we book every single DUI to jail.
Good deal. Anything else? No? All right. Thanks so much. Good to
Thanks.
see you. All right, Rod.
All right, reviewing performance measures for quarter one. Obviously, quarter one is the busiest time of the year for lifeguards, July, August, and September. So attendance just under 900,000, just under 1,000 rescues. I'm happy to report no drownings. As far as the outreach for public education, that is done in quarter three. So that's why you see 0 on that part there. Right now, we're scheduled to go to all the elementary schools to give the public education. But outside of that, it's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions.
Cool.
No, nothing.
Thanks a million, Rod. All right. No new business that I know of. So we'll move on to our Public Safety Committee annual work plan, communications and disaster preparedness project update.
There isn't really much to report on that. I signed up to attend the ECA, which is an Earthquake County Alliance in Southern California here in Newport Beach, but unfortunately when it was happening, I was sick all last week, so I didn't get to attend. I did still sign up for it, and hopefully I'm going to get some information about that I can relay that later in regards to earthquakes and things like that. That's pretty much all we got. Oh, and I did see last month we were talking about the signage for tsunami stuff, and it looks like they're all there now.
Yes, so Public Works did an inventory of
Is
what
that
we
Nick
got.
or Rick?
Rick Milam, Jose Video, are the sign gurus of the city. They did a review. There was one that was missing. That one, I believe, has been installed to replace what's there.
Okay.
So the signs that have been identified by Cal OES as the necessary signs are there, with the exception of the city's review of the state park properties. That's under the jurisdiction of the state, so
Okay.
they would handle that.
Thank you.
Well.
That's all I got.
And do we have any update on, you can go down again, an emergency operations manager?
Nothing to report right now. I can say that the discussions are starting to wrap up. We should see a finalized decision on the city side pretty soon here. There's just a lot of moving parts to this, and a lack of resources on the city side to accommodate a full wish list of what we'd like. What I can say is that the activities of emergency management continue moving forward. I'll give an update now because we're talking about this item. The city processed an update to the local hazard mitigation plan. It was a comprehensive update. I did a presentation on it last year. That plan was reviewed by Cal OES and FEMA over the last 2 months. We got no comments back, and they were actually very impressed with the document that was put together on an expedited timeline. That plan will be going to the City Council at their next meeting next week, March 4th, for their adoption. Once that's adopted, then the city will be eligible for pre-disaster and post-disaster funding from the state and federal agencies. As part of that presentation, I will be touching on the current grant application that we're working on for a community wildfire protection plan. That's one of the mitigation actions of the local hazard mitigation plan. But that was moved up ahead of the plan adoption, one, because we can still embark on those mitigation strategies even without the adoption of that plan. But two, there's a grant opportunity to pay for that plan of up to $250,000 from the U.S. Forest Service. So we're applying for that grant currently. That plan will include a community wildfire risk assessment. And that is important because one of the council requests of late has been for the city staff to provide some information on the Firewise USA program. That will also be discussed at the March 4th meeting. And that plan is not really a city established plan. It is a plan that neighborhoods and HOAs would embark on. We have one Firewise community right now, and that's Sea Point Estates. Each community needs to be somewhere between 8 and 2,500 homes. So there's no citywide Firewise community designation that the city could get. What we can do is we can help neighborhoods and HOAs acquire that designation. And one of the things that each community needs is a wildfire risk assessment. So the city, as part of our community wildfire protection plan, will work on that type of risk assessment that the neighborhoods and HOAs can then use to facilitate the Firewise community program in their areas.
And we don't know when that'll be approved?
Well, the Community Wildfire Protection Plan grant closes March 14th. They typically get back within a couple months. Once that's accomplished, then the city would need to engage the services of a consultant. That plan is a little bit more rigorous than a local hazard mitigation plan, a bit longer. So I would anticipate the cost being a bit higher than the LHMP was, and the timing probably being in a year to probably a year and a half range. However, the wildfire risk assessment is what's necessary to start to assist our HOAs on Firewise communities.
Yep.
So we don't need the plan to be finalized, but we need that risk assessment to be done so that it can be utilized by others.
And when will we start doing that? Because I'll give you your first one if you want it.
The first community.
HOA,
Yeah. Well, so that's going to be dependent on the grant funding award by the U.S. Forest Service, and then as much time as it takes to get a consultant on board, and then probably a couple months at least to do the wildfire risk assessment.
Good.
So I would hope maybe later this year, that we'd have that all put together.
Thanks, Adam.
Yep.
All right, homeless and best management practices for public safety personnel update.
I have no update, but I have a question. And I'll preface this question with, I know that you're not responsible for the answer, I'm just asking you if you happen to know. The Boise decision was overturned with the Grants Pants decision by the Supreme Court back in June of '24. So I think the last time I asked OC Sheriff staff was probably 2 months ago, because I was told that the Sheriff's Office was working on a policy on for you guys to abide by if people call the police and want homeless people moved along on public right-of-ways, which now they legally can. Is there a policy that's been put out yet?
So there's no policy, sir. Actually, the sheriff's stance is to do outreach, and then enforcement. Just because our HLO right now, Amber Garcia, has done such a phenomenal job of what she does. She actually has started enforcing the anti-camping SCMCs as well as the CPCs. She actually just started doing that probably about a month ago. And you are correct, as far as the Grants Pass as well as the Martin B. Boise, they were overturned. There still is a consent decree which expires July of this year, but the sheriff's stance I don't think is going to change. I can't speak for the sheriff, obviously, but his biggest thing is outreach. And just while we're on this topic as far as homelessness goes, just last week the captain and I were at a meeting, and we were able to convince the captain who's in charge of the Behavioral Health Bureau to do the pilot program for what's called an ESRI application. And basically what that does is that is the start of the outreach, and we're actually going to be one of the pilot cities to do that, where all the deputies that we have assigned here will download that application onto their department-issued cell phones. And whenever we come across a homeless person, individual, who, whether it be trespassing or any of that, vagrancy calls, we document and we offer services, and we basically create that paper trail. So then when enforcement comes about, then we have the proof, and then whenever we write the report, because we either arrest them or decide them, whatever it is, we basically go back and say, hey, we contacted this individual on this day, this is what it was, we offered services. So what we're doing is we're creating that paper trail so that we can start enforcing those anti-camping or whatever SCMCs or CPCs that we want to basically pursue. So there's, whenever we do need calls for service, obviously, our policy is if a deputy is requested, we go. It's just we have been limited simply because of those decisions that were overturned. Obviously, with the county, it's a unique situation, and with the city, Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, they don't have to abide by certain regulations that is imposed upon the county, like that consent decree. So we follow what the sheriff basically puts out, and that is, basically we go out there and we offer these services, and then once that doesn't work, then we go to the next step of enforcement.
Thank you.
All right. We have Neighborhood Watch, and
Isn't that you?
And just an update, Ryan went out to North Beach area, had a really good meeting, signed up 3 block captains, and just killing it for us. And I guess I can't talk about the rest of it, but doing a great job.
Yes, sir, he is.
We appreciate it. Statistical information and review.
Nothing new with that part. Statistics look good.
Human trafficking, Mark, you or I have anything on that, right?
No. Have you had any feedback from the
I
I-5 corridor information?
I
Supernatural?
talked to Stacy, left her a couple messages. If you need anything to call me, and
All right.
haven't heard from her.
Clearly, it's no longer a problem.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's probably just not seeing it.
What do I know?
You know a lot, Mark. You're great. E-bike and traffic safety.
Nothing from the local level or anything like that, but beginning January 1st, 2026, for SB 1271, the sale, distribution, or leasing of any electric bicycle unless the battery has been tested by an accredited testing laboratory for compliance with specific standards or other safety standards established by state fire marshal. As fire can attest, there's been plenty of garage fires, right, with spontaneously combusting
Yeah.
e-bikes. So that's good. I mean, it's not really pertinent to the problems they cause rolling down the roads, but it's pertinent to multi-million-dollar houses not burning.
And their neighbors and the forest behind them,
No, the fire department would get to it before it spread to the neighbor's house, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely.
if anybody's home. Okay, technology?
I got a quick question on that.
Sure.
I know with, we, as a committee, was investigator, did some research on the flock, right?
Yeah.
And then after seeing the city council meetings, the last couple of months, they were talking about the possibility of the Tonga boats coming in, and they were talking about maybe getting cameras, infrared cameras, down on the coast or the beach. We already have cameras on the beach, correct? That look at the surf,
There's one public
One.
camera.
but, so is that something where we would look into as well, or is it already over to the city and the city's gonna take care of with the city council, or do we know if they're even following up on any of that suggestion?
My understanding from that item was that the council gave direction to city staff, and city staff is
Is taking
following
care of
up on
that?
it. Yeah, there's been.
So we don't need to be involved in the, okay, good, that was my question.
Okay, review of urgent matters, I don't think we have any.
Hmm.
And the park ranger program. I see the rangers out more and more. It's really good to see that, we've got people out there in the parks.
That's what happens when you hire people to do a job. You see them, right?
Well, not always.
More so than we didn't have them, right? Yeah, they are. I agree. I echo that. I mean, you actually see. I mean, you see them in parks. You see them going to the parking lots. Yeah, I mean,
And it's nice we got them uniforms so we actually know who they are now. So,
I actually had somebody. I overheard a conversation. Did you know we have park rangers? And I was just kind of giggled. Yeah.
that's great. Okay, reports from committee members and staff. Sorry, you got anything else?
No, sir.
Shane? Welcome.
Thank you.
Keep it down over there.
Yeah, I'm down here. Nothing too huge to report out. Just, I think last time the question was asked how many e-bike related incidents maybe we had.
Correct.
Like I said, the data is only as good as how often the checkbox is clicked, but we did have 15 e-bike incidents within 2024 that was identified through our paperwork. Most of those, accidents, crashes, things like that. We did have 2 garage fires that were at least noted and easy to pull up the report. I do know there was more throughout the county that did happen, so it's imperative that people, if they're going to charge their bikes in their garages, make sure that there's no combustible materials around there, because it does frequently happen that those batteries can burn and catch all the combustibles around them. So, other than that, we transitioned pretty much from fire weather, which we didn't think we'd have, but obviously January was very busy. We transitioned over some rain and some mud and debris flow planning for the airport fire specifically. So the Orange County mud and debris flow plan went into effect last week during the rains. We were in unified command with Public Works and the Sheriff's Department. Fortunately, no major incidents as far as mud and debris flow. There was normal kind of debris flow that happens, but nothing too major. Trico Canyon, at least at the roadway and stuff that everybody's concerned about, held up pretty well. So glad to see that. We did have one swiftwater rescue in San Juan. You guys may have seen that in the middle of the night. 2 victims in the creek bed there that were hoisted out by our helicopters. So that was a pretty good rescue. Some victims running down water there. But other than that, nothing too major happening within the city, which is good news.
Always good news. Captain, roll up.
So our business hours are from 8 a.m. to 6:30. On March 9th, they'll change from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Since our last meeting, we have 89,000 visitors. Lifeguards were involved in over 1,100 incidents. Lifeguards rescued 3 swimmers in distress, 123 preventative actions, 485 public ed contacts, 13 medical incidents, 1 ALS call, 500 law enforcement contacts with 1 request for deputies. Reunited a missing child lost on the beach. We had a Ponga landing at Tower 9 on February 6th. 1 stingray this past weekend. 2 encampments reported since our last meeting. And there's a special presentation given by council for the Christmas Miracle Rescue for the 17 individuals involved in rescuing Ollie, including all of our public safety partners and the surfers and so forth, and the lifeguards. As Streeter mentioned, the RCP Shack, the ribbon cutting was on Saturday. They had a fishing, derby, and surf contest. The contractor is continuing to work on 2 of the new towers, the 3. Those first 2 towers should be done by April 1st. We'll start next week staging for summer locations for all the towers. This weekend starts our Rookie Training Academy, which goes 5 consecutive weekends, every weekend in March. And the great thing is there's surf on the weekend, so it's good for training purposes. And also, anybody interested in joining junior lifeguards, the swim test starts this Sunday. They run on Sundays and Wednesdays throughout the month of March. And that's a prerequisite in order to be eligible to sign up for the program. And that's it.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question with regards to junior guards that may or may not be from my daughter. What is the mile run for lieutenant? Is it timed or is it just
Finish it.
Okay. She wanted to know. I said, I think I might be able to find out.
Can't really pay.
Oh, and actually, I'm typically underwhelmed when municipalities do like aesthetic stuff. But I gotta say, those fish bike rack things are some of the coolest bike racks I think I've ever seen in my life. Have you seen them?
No.
So the bike rack, what do you guys call that shack?
Packed house.
That thing. There's bike racks there, but they're all shaped like fish.
Police
And
community.
And you don't, I mean, what I'm saying doesn't make any sense, but if you see the pictures, I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, your people down there do a great job.
Absolutely, they do.
We're out there with the citizens. Committee chair has no comments. Mark,
Nothing else, thank you.
Tom?
Nope, nothing else.
All right, city staff.
Nothing beyond what I previously provided.
Great. Well, our next meeting was going to be, the Public Safety Committee is scheduled to take place Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, at 3 p.m. in the City Hall, in the council chambers here at 910 Caling Negocio, San Clemente, California. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mark?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody, for